and we internalize that and we say, that's true. They're an expert, it's true. And I'm here to tell you it is not true. You get to decide who you are. I don't care what anybody says about you. You get to decide what is true and not true. Hey babes, it's Abby, your life coach here, and today I'm giving you the 10 things that I wish I knew before I went into high school. And also, as I was thinking about it, I was like, these are 10 things that I wish I could go back, sit down, freshman Abby, I'd say, listen, these are 10 things that you need to internalize if you want to have an incredibly successful high school, save yourself so much pain and tears, and just enjoy and become who you are. So these are the 10 things that I could go back and tell myself if I could start high school again. Okay, so the first thing that I would tell myself is, guess what? You don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be really good at something just yet. I don't know about you and where you're going to school, but it might just be a Utah thing. And if it is, that wouldn't surprise me. But everybody in my grade was like crazy talented. Not just like a little bit talented, like crazy, insane talented. And I went to a huge school. I went to a 5A school. I think that's what it's called, right? Where it's just massive. Like so many people. And I just felt like everybody was so talented and so skilled and knew what they were doing. And it was really overwhelming. And I felt like, well, what if I'm not good at something? What if I'm not an expert at something just yet? And I would go back and I would tell myself, that's totally fine, right? We're not supposed to be experts just yet. We're teenagers. So that's the first thing that I would tell myself. The second thing I would say is that effort does matter. So I think you get this a lot, but you know, they say, oh, now things matter. This all counts towards college and your GPA. More than that, more than just the fear of like college looming over your head, like your effort that you put into your relationships, your effort that you put into your homework and learning concepts and really applying yourself, it does matter. It matters, yes, for that GPA and yes, for those college applications, but it also matters to who you're becoming. I started to really get a sense of who I was and what I wanted and what I didn't like and maybe things that I didn't want to do when I was in high school. So just know that the effort that you're putting in right now and over the next couple of years, it's really going to matter and it's going to pay off for you if you can do it in the right way. The next thing I would tell myself if I could go back and say, these are the 10 things you've got to know before you go into high school. And that is that you've got to keep high standards. Now, when I was thinking about this, I was like, oh, I would tell myself, you got to keep high standards while you're dating, right? Because I will never forget thinking to myself, oh, there's so many lucky girls out there who get to date good guys, and I'm just kind of dating crummy guys. Like they're always, you know, not the best, and they're not treating me the way that this, like my best friend's boyfriend treats them, right? And like comparing, and always feeling like the guys that liked me didn't measure up to what I wanted, like in a relationship. And looking back now, I realized that comes because I wouldn't say I had low standards, but I put up with like some crap that now I'd be like, we don't put up with a guy making fun of us. I thought about this the other day. So I, like, to give you an example of what I now would be like, girl, no. So this guy I was dating, I was like head over heels for him. He'd come over to my house and there, of course, my mom has cute pictures of us kids everywhere, right? And he took a picture of me at like 10. And I was in like kind of more of a stylized shoot. Remember when those were like really popular in the 90s? And that's like, and so it's this cute picture of me, but I do look like, I don't know, it's kind of one of those funny photos that you look back on. As an adult, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's adorable. I love it. As a teenager, I was like, oh, that's such an embarrassing picture of me, right? So he took a picture of that picture because he knew it embarrassed me. And then he sent it to all of his friends. Like some people would say, oh, that's so funny. I didn't like it at the time. I don't like that now. I think that's extremely rude and violating to send a picture that I was like, hey, I look ridiculous in that, like, please delete that off your phone. Instead of deleting it off his phone, he sent it to all of his friends. Girls, I was dating this guy. Keep your standards high, and that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. Also, keep your standards high when it comes to friends. If your friends are teasing you, making fun of you, don't include you. they don't deserve you, babe. So just keep that in mind. And I wish I could go back and tell that to past Abby. I also want to tell this to anybody going into high school. It is better to be respected than it is to be popular. I can't emphasize that enough. And yes, I have videos on my YouTube channel, some of my most popular ones to date. How to be popular, how to be cool, how to do all these things in school. And I would say, like, I mean, I don't want to say I was like the most popular kid. I definitely wasn't. But I did experience some popularity in high school. And I want that for you. I really do, but not at the expense of your standards, not at the expense of other people. So I believe it's totally possible to be nice and friendly and cool and respected and popular. Okay? And if your popularity, your quest of climbing that social ladder is going to cost you respect, it's not worth it. It never, ever, ever is worth losing the respect of your peers and the respect that you have for yourself. I wish I could go back and tell sophomore Abby this, because I kind of figured this out by junior and senior year. But sophomore Abby, I beat myself up over this. But you don't have to go to everything to have fun. I remember thinking, I've got to go to the football games and I got to go to every party and I've got to go to all the plays and all the school things and all the meets, and I got to be involved. And I think there's a benefit to being involved in high school, especially if you're trying to find your group. But oh my gosh, how ridiculous is this? I would go to the football game, right? Because I'm feeling obligated and like, oh, I want to be seen. My friends are there. But like deep in my heart, I'm like, I don't really want to go. I'm an introvert. I just want to stay home and hang out and chill with my family. But I would get all ready. I'd go to the game. I'd stay there for maybe 15 minutes tops. And then I would leave. Right? And I would just feel pressure this whole time of like, who am I going to stand by? Who am I going to see? Am I going to go talk to that person? And it was so much needed extra pressure that I didn't need to put on myself. So you don't have to go to everything. You don't have to go to every football game. You don't have to go to every dance. You don't have to go do and try everything, especially if you still feel like you're trying to find your clique. Like, those can be helpful, but don't kill yourself trying to do that. And then also, be friends with people who are good friends. Not because they're in your clique, not because you think that they're popular. I can't emphasize this one enough. And I wish I could just shout it to the rooftops to anybody going into high school, that be friends with people who are good friends. Period. End of statement. It doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter what group they belong to. One of my fondest memories that I just like chuckle about is at school. I feel like, this is kind of a weird question, but I feel like it comes up in high school. People would be like, who's your best friend? Like, who do you hang out with all the time? And I'd say, oh, Bree. Bree's been my best friend since 5th grade. Like, duh, like it's Bree. And people's mouth would drop. And that was because Bree and I couldn't be more opposite on our social spectrum. I was like the nerdy theater girl who was like English Sterling Scholar and in all these plays and like hanging out with this like theater group of people. That's who I'm hanging out with. And Bree was totally, and like I was like crazy, like I don't want to say like crazy religious, that might give you the wrong perspective, but like I'm all about Jesus. I am all about God. I am all about living my religion, right? And my best friend, who I love more than life itself, still to this day, doesn't have a religious affiliation. She was hanging out with like this skater punk kind of group of people. Like there could not have been two people that you would have pulled from the school and been like, oh, they're in such different like groups. There's such different sides of the school. And I just would love that reaction because people would be so shocked, and she'd get it too. They'd be like, oh, Brie, like, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, I'm going to go hang out with Abby after school today. And they'd be like, Abby? Like Abby, the theater nerd? And she'd be like, yeah, that's my bestie, right? And I just think that was so fun. And some of the relationships that I've kept up outside of high school have been the ones that were our friendships that crossed like cliques, our friendships that we genuinely liked each other. So that's why we talked in math. It wasn't because we were in the same play together. It wasn't because we were doing these things. It was because we genuinely had a connection that lived outside of our cliques. And I'm only friends with you because you're friends with the person I'm dating, you know? So be friends with people who are good friends, regardless of their social status, what group they're in, or what group they're not a part of. Okay, Freshman Abby so desperately needed to hear this, and I didn't get this. I didn't get this until I was a freaking adult. And that is, one teacher's opinion of you does not define you. So, quick story, and just to be personal, when I was in 9th grade, musical theater was like everything to me, and I loved singing, and I felt very talented at those things because I'd gotten positive reinforcement from it. The theater teacher adored me, and I'd gotten like really big roles in the school plays, right? Well, fast forward to 9th grade year, I have a lead in the school play, and I'm working with the choir teacher because it's very vocally heavy, and she flat out tells me that I sound tone deaf. Guys, it has taken me years to recover from that comment. And guess what? I never did another musical singing in front of people thing again after 9th grade, because this one teacher told me that I didn't sound good and that I sounded tone deaf. And I could just tell from her, well, it's all my own thoughts, but I believed from her actions and from what she would tell me and how she would treat other students and not me, that she didn't like me. And this rocked my world. This was like the first teacher to ever kind of give me that like impression, like, I don't think they enjoy me. And it rocked my world. And I'm not joking when I say it has taken me years to get over that. And it still has really damaged my self-esteem when it comes to like singing. But I just so desperately wish that I had known and believed the truth, that her opinion of me didn't matter. What happens in high school, I'd say junior high and even beyond, is we get people that we claim are experts. And they might have gone to the right school. They might have gotten the right degree. They might have spent some time doing what they claim to be an expert in. And they tell us something about us. They say, Abby, you can't sing. You're not really good at this. You're not going to make the football team, right? And we internalize that and we say, that's true. They're an expert. It's true. And I'm here to tell you it is not true. You get to decide who you are. I don't care what anybody says about you. You get to decide what is true and not true. I don't know if you can tell. I am passionate about this one because that teacher had no right to tell me that I couldn't sing. She had no right to do that. And it damaged me. It so deeply severed my self-esteem in that area. And so if that is you, believe me on this one, that you are the only one that gets to decide if you're a good singer. You are the only one that gets to decide if you're good at math. You are the only one that gets to decide who and what you are good at and what you want to be. So do not let one teacher's opinion of you define you. Calming down from that last one. But here, I wish I could say this to any teen going into high school. Okay, nobody is thinking of you that often. Now, this stings a little, right? We're like, we want people to think of us fondly. When we actually get down to it, we as human beings are flattered by the idea that somebody thinks fondly about us, or somebody is thinking about us, or somebody, likes us, right? But the reality is that the majority of the time, we don't project that on other people. We're not like, oh my gosh, I'm sure they're thinking wonderful things about me. The reality is we're like, oh my gosh, I'm sure they think I'm the biggest idiot because I said this word wrong. Oh my gosh, I am sure they are analyzing all of my videos and how frizzy my hair is and everything that's going on, right? The reality is nobody is really thinking about you. You are thinking about you, and guess what? Your best friend is thinking about your best friend, and your boyfriend's thinking about them and their problems and how they're going to talk to their mom because they got in a fight with the car keys or blah, 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 blah. We are all so busy living our own stories, telling ourselves our own thoughts and what could happen and what doesn't happen, and our brain is analyzing things and we're learning things that truly people don't have that much time to be thinking about you. So don't live your life being crippled by the idea that you've got to live up to what other people are thinking. We don't know what they're thinking. It's none of our business, and they're probably not thinking about you at all in the first place. Are you in there for the advice that I would give to anybody going back to high school? Are you still with me? Because we only have a couple more. And one of those is you have the freedom to change. You have the freedom in high school specifically to change your classes, switch teachers, join different groups, do different activities, drop a class, sign up for something new, go to a new school. I mean, the possibilities are truly endless for you. And that's the beautiful thing about, I guess I'd say, the American education system, because that's what I'm familiar with. But in elementary school, you don't have a lot of choice. Maybe your mom and dad could call up the school and say, hey, you got to move them out of this teacher and go to this teacher, right? But we don't really have say about what our teacher wants to tell us or what we want to do that day. It's all dependent on our teacher in that classroom. We live inside that classroom. Okay, junior high, we got to pick a couple classes that we got to go to, right? And we can switch those around. And we can try new things, so we kind of have some options. And then by the time you get to high school, you have so many options. You can start college classes. You can do basically any elective you can think of. My high school specifically offered like trade school classes that you could take. You could go and for half the day learn how to be a hairdresser or a welder or an electrician or a chef. And I desperately wish I would have taken advantage of those. But there's so much freedom. I know people that like totally their senior year, they did like the 2 classes they had to and they were gone the rest of the time. I had friends that weren't enjoying their high school experience and so they changed schools or they did it online or they got their GED. Like, you have so many options to redefine what your classes look like, what your high school experience looks like, and what you look like and do and what you want to do with your life. So use that freedom. I changed classes like at the first of a semester. I'd make sure I liked all my classes, that I liked all my teachers, that my electives were set, and then I'd get to work because I understood that what my high school experience was and what it could be was totally up to me. And the biggest piece of advice that I would give myself going back into high school would be this. People will remember how you treated them. Guys, as somebody that's been out of high school now for almost 10 years, holy cow, I don't remember conversations I had. I don't remember who was dating who. I ran into a good high school buddy the other day, and she was like, oh yeah, and when I was dating this person, this happened. And I was like, you were dating that person? I had no idea. I was like best friends with that person. You were dating them, right? I don't remember any of that, but I do remember how people made me feel. And honestly, one of like the gems of a memory that I hold on to is I had a friend from high school that, I just said hi to every now and then. We weren't hanging out all the time, but he sent me a message on Facebook and he just said, hey, I wanted to let you know that, you're a really positive influence on me in high school. And I just was so grateful that I always knew that you would talk to me and smile and like that we had this really fun friendship. And that meant the world to me because especially as somebody that talks about high school, that coaches on high school, that coaches teens, I look back and I say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said this. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I broke my own rules. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did those things, right? And so I know that I didn't treat everybody that I met with kindness and love. And I wish with all my heart that you can. That everybody who passes by you, everybody who has a chance to interact with you, whether that's sitting next to you in class or whether that's being your bestie or somebody that you date, treat them with love and respect and kindness. And make sure you treat yourself with love and respect and kindness. Because when it's all said and done and you're done with high school, people aren't going to remember how popular you were. They're not going to remember who you dated or that you got the best track record that whole year. They're going to remember how you made them feel. Okay, babes, we just went through 10 things that I wish that I could tell my past self if I was going back into high school. I hope that these help you out. I hope that you're catching this while you're in high school and you can change your journey. You can change what you're doing and you can take some of this advice to heart. So if you enjoyed this video, please like it and give me a thumbs up and then leave a comment down below. You got a question, you've got some advice that you wish to pass on, leave it down below. You can always find me on Instagram at Abbi Winslow, and you can come over to my website, abbiwinslow.com, and get my high school guide. Ladies, this guide will change your life. I'm not exaggerating on that. I've had so many teens, so many parents reach out and tell me that. It's every lesson I wish I knew. It's every hard story, hard experience that I had to go through, so you don't have to. So check that out on my website. It's crazy cheap. It's like $27. It's a PDF download for you. It will change your high school experience. So I highly suggest getting my high school guide. And, I hope you subscribe to my channel so I can see you in my next video. Abbi J out.